in the waiting room. So I don't know, virtually we have quite a few people actually attending today. We have 14 virtually.
Okay.
So back to who I am. So I retired from Santa Clara County Fire. I was teaching those classes. Jay reached out, got the job, and started applying fire science to emergency preparedness in Los Altos Hills. So that's how I got here. So you'll have a lot of heavy fire science in this. It's not too heavy, but enough to kind of understand the wildfire risk and the problem. So we're back to phones and needing to be notified, right? So we've seen all those pictures during wildfire evacuations, people lined up for miles, right? And stuck for hours trying to get out. So one of the benefits of this paid platform, when they utilize it to notify you, it goes ahead of, like those Amber alerts that are just a general transmission, it goes ahead of those on that media we were talking about that's very limited. It goes out first. They project that the time delay could be up to 20 minutes between the Amber type alert and this paid platform type alert. So this is free to you. You just sign up and get on. I have little cards in the back, but there's the website, and you can personalize it and monitor any zip codes in Santa Clara County. Now, this is only for Santa Clara County, so you won't be finding San Mateo or other counties. You'll have to register for whatever system they have. And then, like I was talking about the Amber Alert, or they call it PET, Public Emergency Transmission, that's just when they blast every type of cell phone, anything that's in the area, regular landline type phones with a message. And again, like I said, being registered on the paid platform can get you 20 minutes ahead. Now, in an evacuation, that 20 minutes can mean a lot when everybody's trying to leave at the same time, because everybody's going to eventually get those notifications. So really important to get those early alerts. That's the first thing in here. 3 steps to prepare that I'm going to talk about is sign up for early alerts. And then there we go. All right. So again, on the same realm of getting ready for getting your notifications, staying informed. Here's some places that we can go to stay informed. I have just the screenshots of some of the trusted information sources. I do have Nextdoor, Facebook, and I guess X, Twitter, whatever you call it now. What was it, Prince, the artist formerly known as, the platform formerly known as. So I have some of those up, and it's really important. Nextdoor is a great way to get information around, but you want to make sure you're going to trusted sources in an emergency. You want to make sure you're getting it from the right source, not maybe your neighbor that got it from another neighbor that got it from, you want to make sure it's the right source. And then I have a couple of other, the pulse point, I'm going to talk in a little bit more on the next slide, and a new one that I just started using in the last couple of weeks, Watch Duty. And the very last one is the way that Los Altos Hills gets information. So that's TextMyGov. That's newer for them, newer than what they had in the past. And that's a great way of reporting anything that is going on in Los Altos Hills. Not the place to call 911 for a fire, but things like a down tree on a pathway, things like that. That's a great way to do it because it directs it to the correct department at the town. And it saves this, staff is busy. And the more time they have to do things on phones and things like that, if it comes directly to them, that's a time saver for them. So I recommend checking that out also. And again, having those trusted news sources or sources for information. So again, some of the things that I want to talk about on staying informed. Here's a picture of a recent fire that was on Pulse Point at the far, your right, my left. That was a dispatch that happened off Page Mill Road. And this was Watch Duty, I believe, yesterday, maybe I put that on. So one of the first things I want to talk about, we have all these fatal fires that we've heard about, right? And I will tell you, I can probably almost say with 100% that all of them involved wind, okay? All of the fatal fires involved wind. So why is that important? We want to look for red flag warning days. Those will be coming up now. If we didn't have a super warm summer so far, I mean, we had a spell of stuff, but it hasn't been maybe as long as usual. But we will eventually probably have red flag warnings. And that's usually it's low humidity, high temperatures, and high winds, usually over 15 miles per hour. So when you start seeing that on the news for your local area, that's where I want you to be extra alert, especially when it comes to wildfires, okay? Situational awareness. Again, you see highlighted high winds. And why are winds so important? I'm going to talk to this to death later on in the wildfire part. It's pushing the embers. That's exactly what you just saw in Maui, okay? It was pushing embers onto boats and burning boats in the harbor. That's how much an ember can travel across water to a boat. All right, so pulse point, again, I mentioned that in the previous slide, and there it is on your right. Watchdog is great. The notifications come up on either of these, and you can monitor what's going on in those fires, okay? Really like both of those. And then Zone Haven. Zone Haven, I'm going to talk about on another slide too. This is another software program. It actually has become an app because it was just bought. When anything is successful, it's sold multiple times already. It was adopted about 2.5 years ago to be the evacuation and emergency notification platform beyond the Alert SCC to move people in the event of an emergency. So it's an evacuation, okay, versus the alert. It's an evacuation tool, and it utilizes the most current means of like Waze, Google Maps, you know, things like that to move people. So as things fill up, they are going to go ahead and direct you somewhere else. It was bought by Genesis. So when you search for Zone Haven, it still should come up. That's the notification. That's still the material that I'm handing out. It still says Zone Haven. But if it gets a little confusing, Genesis is now the new company that owns it, and they call it Genesis Protect in parentheses. And it does have an application. I just downloaded it on my phone 2 days ago, and I haven't utilized it yet. So I'm not sure if it's as user-friendly, but if it is, you know, there's another information piece that you can utilize. Before, it didn't have an app associated with it. You just get on the website, you punch in your address. So I've punched in the address here for Town Hall. So on that left-hand side of the picture, that's what you get when you punch in the address. And that's what comes up. It circles and highlights and tells us that everything's normal here in this area, which is LAH 030. That's what zone we're in right now. If I lived here, I have a little card back there or a little magnet. I could write on it, says know your zone, and I could write 30 on there. So if an evacuation came through, an alert came through on your Alert SEC, because you all signed up after today, and it said zone 30 needs to evacuate. That go, oh, I look on my refrigerator, I'm zone 30, I'm evacuating. Now, all these numbers get confusing because there's a lot of people that have neighborhood watch that's organized around the next door zones. There's 57 of those. In Los Altos Hills, Zone Haven, there's only 21, 22 zone havens. And I'll tell you why I kind of utilize that platform. Moving on, I used it in Firewise to our advantage when this came out, when we were talking about Firewise. So I'll talk a little bit more. I have a Know Your Zone right here. So you can check out Know Your Zone where you live, or you can punch in your address. And I'll have that at the back for you. All right. So one more element of notification, and this happens again, usually around those red flag warning days, is public powers, PSPS, public safety power shutoff. Again, love the acronyms, right? This is what happens, usually the winds. And the reason this is happening is because power lines came down, they started fires burned, PG&E was at risk for liability. So they decided to start shutting the power down. And that really started happening about 3 years ago, when that really, and we had a couple of those last year. They have improved the grid, so the amount of people out of service has been able to be broken up in smaller chunks. It used to just be like everybody was out of power, you know, Los Altos and Los Altos Hills. But now they're getting the grids a little more select, so they're able to isolate power lines that are just in the Wildland Urban Interface, or WUI, another acronym, WUI, okay, Wildland Urban Interface. And that's what Los Altos Hills is Wildland Urban Interface. Urban is more like Los Altos. This is the interface between the wild, which is the open space, the unpopulated, undeveloped areas. So you're right in the middle, you're a transition area. So that's what WUI is. Typically, WUI has topographical features like hills, like we have here in Los Altos Hills. That's super typical of a WUI. So anyhow, let's get back to power shutoff. If you have baseline medical needs at home or anybody at home that has that, access and functional needs, people that are using baseline power, reach out to PG&E and you can make sure that you're one of the homes that gets a generator, some alternatives, so that you're not out of power in case of a shutdown. All right, now the wildland part. Any questions right now on the Inforum technology? That's just, yeah. All these sources that we talked about. Who would you call in 911? Who would you want to show up if you called 911? Yeah. That's the first place. At the PD, law enforcement. I would go with your local law enforcement first, because they usually they're on the scene, they're seeing what's happening, followed by you get a fire department when you call 911, right? And when you want to get it fixed in town, you go to Los Altos Hills, right, to their website. I would start with those three first. You can go Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any of those. Yes, because I mean, you don't know the stuff, right? After, so you can't forget those stuff that you anyway. You're signed up for alerts, so you're getting your alerts. We're going to talk about some more stuff. You have a plan, you have some things so that you're resilient and reliant on yourself and can make those decisions on your own. So hopefully I can give you a little bit more empowerment through the presentation on how do I just trust myself and what I'm doing? Because that is what's going to happen in a big emergency. You're not going to have 911. You're not going to have fire engines. You're not going to have policemen, police officers. You're not going to have them. They're going to be too busy dealing with the emergency. So this is all about being self-reliant, resilient.
Denise,
and this is specifically around wildland fires.
Denise?
Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I just downloaded the Zone Haven, which, as you said, it takes you right to Genesis Protect.
Mm-hmm.
And when I put in my address, it said we are LAH Zone 1-4. So is it
14.
Okay, I thought you
14.
said earlier zone.
I put in the address for town hall here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So 14. So Dave, 14, are you? Yeah. So we're going to hook you up with Dave Stewart later on.
No, Dave's my neighbor. We know each other.
Oh, you already know Dave. Okay. Yeah. Never mind. All right.
Thank you.
So yeah, sure. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the actual, hopefully you guys can hear this video out there in Zoom land. Hopefully you can hear it.
Yes. 13 degrees during the day. Then
no, you can't.
Devastating wildfires have become the new normal in California. It is your responsibility to prepare your family, pets, home, and yourself. Preparedness starts with 3 steps. Ready, set, go. Step 1, ready.
Sorry, guys.
Ready is proactive planning. Ready focuses on 2 areas, your home and your family. This begins with creating a defensible home. Start by creating an action plan to build defensible space. Remove weeds, brush, and other vegetation to create a buffer between flames, embers, and your home. Harden your home. Roofs, eaves, vents, and decks are areas you can safeguard against fire. Evaluate weak points and harden them. Ready is preparing your family. Start with creating a family disaster plan to leave, meet, retreat. Include pets and large animals such as horses.
You know what? I'm going to play it at the end. We'll work
Being
through
ready
the
saves lives and property. Being ready increases the likelihood both you and your home survive. It's time to get ready.
I'm hooked in.
For additional actions,
Oh, sound jack.
What to do when wildfire
see it.
strikes. Head to Ready for Wildfire.
Let's see if we can. Let's try it. Let's play again. Let's see if you guys can hear it. Oh, now it's not working. All right. Well, I'm going to play it at the end, so we'll be able to see it again. But ready, set, go. And we're in the ready. We're in the ready of the ready, set, go right now.
Preparedness starts with 3 steps.
We're going to stop that for now.
Go. Step 1.
So we're in step 1. That was kind of the take home message. And again, it's going through a lot of things that I'm going to cover right now in the presentation. So let's start out with some fire science around wildfires. So we already talked a little bit about some of the red flag warning, and we said that that's high heat, low humidity, and wind. The other part, this is the fire triangle. This is what you learn when you're a brand new firefighter, and it stays the same. It's a chemistry thing. So what we do is we look at weather, topography, and fuels. Okay, can we change the hillside? Not very much. We live here. It is what it is. Can we change the weather? Last time I checked, I don't have an inn with upstairs that changes weather. So fuel is the only thing that we have a variable around. That is something we can do. It's the only part of the fire triangle we can change. And I'm not talking fuel like diesel or gas. I'm talking fuel like this. What is fuel? Okay. Fuel can be vegetation, trees, grass, but it can also be homes. And that's where the big deal is, right? So wildfires are influenced by the moisture content and vegetation. Well, a house is not vegetation and it's all dead, right? It's all dry and dead. So wood is all dry and dead. So just wood by itself. The health of the vegetation, we're talking plants. If they're alive and green, they're a lot harder to burn than if they're dead and brown. So we want to keep live and green. And then heat and humidity, we've talked a little bit about that. And then wind and slope. Slope and wind push fires faster. When you have slope, fire burns uphill faster, twice as fast as it does on flat land. So it preheats, the flames bend and they preheat the fuel in front of it. So even if it was green still, it's now drying out and catching fire easier. And the wind is pushing it faster and giving it more oxygen. Okay, so that's why slope and wind make fires spread faster. And one of the reasons why WUIs have more fire potential than what you do in a flat land. So I'm going to talk really quick. I'm going to be away from the microphone for a second. So if you guys can't hear me on Zoom, I'll be back. All right. So there's a couple of ways that I really just say there's two ways that fires start. Okay. We have the flames, right? Flames, heat, right? Flames give off heat. So flames or heat touching a house or a plant or anything that's going to burn. And then the second way, off this fire, there's embers, right? Little pieces of burning material that fly. And when we have a windy day, do you think they fly faster or slower in a windy day? Faster. And that's again what you saw in Maui. They can travel, embers in a fire driven by wind can travel up to 5 miles. 5 miles out in front of a fire. Find a receptive fuel bed. Start that. You've evacuated. You've long since left, right? You were good. You got your alert. You got out early. Well, you had a pile of leaves. It was up against your house. Ember landed there, or you didn't clean your gutters because the roof is an amazing, rolls down, lands on the roof, rolls down to the gutters. The gutters are full of leaves. Gutters catch on fire. Eventually the roof and the soffit and the under eaves catch on fire and the house is on fire because there's no one there to see that. So we need to make those homes safe. And we're going to talk about that. Home hardening, a defensible space, vegetation management. And so the direct flame and heat, that's that fire part. Okay, so that's the first part of how it can start. And then where we get these catastrophic fires is when one house catches on fire, and that makes a lot of embers and a lot of heat to the neighbors. So your biggest risk beyond your own house catching on fire is when your neighbor's house is on fire. So we want to prevent both of those from happening as much as possible. So let's look at the next slide. So again, some more fire science. On the left, you have two identical buildings with different siding materials, okay, and different ground materials. We're going to talk about the home ignition zone. That's the 0 to 5 feet. Where is that fire happening? In the 0 to 5 feet around that house. It's got cement in front of it. The other one has rock. Same exact flames were put to both houses. So it's the siding, it's the ground material. We'll get a little more into that. That's called home hardening on the left. Okay. That's a model that they did on a structure on simulating embers being wind driven. Okay. And they want to see where the structure fails first. And that's how they develop some of these home hardening techniques that we're going to talk about. Okay, just mentioned the home ignition zone. So these are the zones around your house. Again, this is developed through fire science. The immediate zone, or what we like to have the exclusion zone. And I know this is going to kill everybody. Unless you built a brand new house, you are not doing this. You have an older house, everything's put up right next to the house as far as landscaping. And I get it. These are hard realities to kind of set and work through. But we have some compromises. It's not all bleak. So let's prepare. Let's not, be just like, oh my gosh, Denise, you're scaring me. You're just telling me all this stuff. Let's see what we can do to prepare to that. So that immediate zone, The next zone is the 5 to 30 feet. Does anybody get a letter in the early or late winter, early spring from the county of Santa Clara asking you to do defensible space? If you live in town, it's 30 feet. If you're in the unincorporated, it's 100. Does anybody get that letter? Yeah, okay. So that letter is saying, do your 30 feet. It's not talking about your 5 feet necessarily. It's saying, do your 30 feet. That's your ordinance in the town for defensible space, or 100 feet if you're unincorporated. Okay. So that's what that immediate zone is. And we want less vegetation in that because it's very close to the home. Because remember, we went to this, what catches houses on fire? Heat. So if we have a lot of plants that are right next to the house in the 0 to 5 or the 30 that are burning, they're giving off heat. That's a sweet spot that fire science has found, is that 30 feet is a sweet spot. If you have fire at 30 feet, out from there, out towards the house, is not going to catch fire as easily from the heat. That 30 feet is enough air buffer to have that flame heat, a radiant heat, not catch the home on fire. That's where that 30 feet came from. So if 30 is good, 100 is even better, right? So in the wildland, because of the winds and things like that, that's why in the unincorporated, it's extended out to 100. Up in the mountains, up in Tahoe and all that, it's 100, 125 feet that they have as defensible space. So this is something that's more is better. It's not moonscaping. It's not bare naked land. I'm not asking you to cut everything down. Let's strategically talk about placing things. Remember, I talked about how fires burn uphill faster. So that's what that's showing. If you have slope, that's going to preheat the fuels, and you're going to want to have your treatment depth even farther. This includes all structures. Yes, Drew. $30 is the ordinance. We're recommending 100 feet with the district. Yeah. But yeah, your letter, if you're in the incorporated, it'll say 30 feet on it, on that letter, that weed abatement letter that comes out. If you're in the unincorporated or you have some special circumstances, it'll say 100 on it. 100 is the state standard. CAL FIRE is 100 feet. Any place that CAL FIRE runs fires, it's 100 feet of defensible space. Great, thanks. And I'm going to talk more about defensible space. So if I know a lot of these terms might be brand new, so don't feel overwhelmed. I offer lots of classes. I have lots of other programs to help you. So, and property hygiene, keeping things clean. Okay, and we'll talk more about that. Okay, so when you look at your house, you start from the house and property, you start from the house and work out. Okay, so home hardening. This addresses the most vulnerable parts of your house, the ones that are most likely through fire science proven are going to catch fire. It's going to be your roof and the edges of your roof, your venting and soffitting underneath. Okay, those are the most vulnerable parts of the roof. On the structure itself, it's where are the flames and embers going to land? Well, if you've done your 30 feet, the flames aren't going to get close enough in theory, right? It's the flames that start from those embers that might land and start their own little fire, a spot fire. Those are the ones that we're talking about when we're talking more about the home hardening. So again, the next place that we're going to look that's going to be the biggest deal, if that ember lands and it finds something receptive, it's going to be what kind of siding do you have? What kinds of windows do you have? Okay, it's going to be things like that. What vegetation is in that area? So is it lean and green, so it's not going to catch fire? Or is it really overplanted and kind of dead and covering windows, so it's going to catch on that plant, burn up that plant as a ladder, a fuel ladder, and go up into your eaves, soffit, roof, and catch the rest of the house on fire, or the siding? So we have to look at that. And we're going to examine that a little bit more. Again, if all this sounds really, really, really overwhelming, and you live in Los Altos Hills, we have a free program that's offered by the fire district. It's called the Home Ignition Zone Survey. And you'll have someone, a trained professional from Fire Safe Council, Santa Clara County Fire Safe Council, nonprofit here. And they'll come out and do a home ignition zone survey. It's private between you and them because they're not in profit. We don't get that information. And that'll tell you a nice report printed and tell you things that you can do. You have no requirement to do that. Oh, I'm sorry, one requirement. You have to put 4-inch reflective numbers for your address. That's the only requirement we ask out of receiving that service. Everything else is a recommendation. It's around home hardening and vegetation management, property hygiene. We only deal with the 30 feet unless you're in the unincorporated, then they look at the 100 feet. But they might give you some suggestions beyond that 30 feet. But that's where we're focusing. is that first immediate zone around the house. Okay, so if you feel overwhelmed, talk to me at the end. We have the little sign up sheet says I want more information. We'll check you off and we'll get you signed up and get you those resources. They're easily found on our website. If I have time at the end, I'll pull the website up and give you a quick cruise. We just did a little bit of a remodel on it. So it looks a little bit newer. You can show it off. So the house here on the left, you see all those other burnt structures. This is Paradise up in Butte County. All those other structures burned. This house was newer construction. You can kind of see it's hard from far away, but the 0 to 5 feet, there's nothing in that 0 to 5 feet. It's a stucco construction on the siding and it's a composite roof on the top. So a class A rated roof. Okay. Basically a non-combustible roof. Tiled, metal, slate, there's lots of non-combustibles. Not so much shingles, even treated shingles are still wood, and sun and everything kind of degrade that treatment. They've ideas that you can do, again, clearing that 5-foot radius. Say if all you go home and do is pull away the mulch that you have that's combustible and you replace it with something like gravel or something you don't have to go all the way to cement. You can just do something non-combustible in that space. Now you've taken care of a lot of the risk that's happening. Because again, when we have mulches that are combustible right up next to the house and that ember flies in, lands in that mulch, starts a smoldering fire, it has wind blowing on it like a bellow, and that fire burns up, and say you have wood siding, it's not hardy board, it's actual wood, and that ends up burning up the side of the house, up in that soffit eave area, up through the vents into the roof. Okay, so that's a change we can make. We're not saying remove all the plants yet, right? We're just saying let's change what's on the ground in that 0 to 5 feet. Hardscaping, any kind of hardscaping works too. And then one of those things I told you about, that ladder that plants end up being, something that there is, I know, another concern about in Los Altos Hills is burglaries. Shortening your plants. So let's say we're not taking those plants out, but we're going to shorten them down. We're not going to have as much fuel to go up to the eaves to catch a fire into the roof. So if that little bit of fire starts under that bush and catches that bush on fire and that bush starts burning against the house while you're away because you've been evacuated, that's shortening it down, gives less flame length for it to give heat, and it might self-extinguish before it catches the roof on fire. So taking things down is an option instead of just completely removing them. But again, you get the home ignition zone inspection. It'll give you recommendations. You can pick your favorite specimen plants. If something dies, let's not replace it in that 0 to 5 feet. Okay, let's do stuff that's non-combustible in that 0 to 5 feet. Bottom picture again is Lahaina. Actually, Jay just sent this picture to me, I think yesterday. One house on the bottom right-hand corner is the only one left in this neighborhood. Okay, right away, waterfront, right? So one whole side is pretty much okay, right? Waterfront. The back side of the house, roadway. Again, nice defensible space area. And then I read the article, they have a metal roof that they replaced. That's a really old home that they upgraded, like 100 years old. And they put a new roof on it. They removed all the vegetation around the house, the 0 to 5 feet. They kind of attribute that to part of the reason why maybe that home survived. Now, granted, like I said, they've got a really good benefit of having water on one whole side, because the flames aren't going to come that way, right? They might blow across from somewhere else, but that's a really nice example of looking at what you have around your house. It's a benefit. Do you have a road that's close to your house? Maybe harden from that house towards that road. So again, that's a nice fuel break. We're creating fuel breaks. See what you have in your advantages. That's what they ended up doing. Like I said, they replaced a wood roof with a metal roof, and then removed the plants. They did that 0 to 5 feet. So that might be part of why. It's super random. I've seen stucco houses burned too with tile roofs. So it's super random. It gets up into the soffits and into the attic through the venting, and that's the problem. So one of the key things too, when we talk about home hardening, one of the first biggest flexes for your dollar is to just replace the vent screening on your venting. Usually older construction, it's 1/8 inch. They want you to go down to 1/4 inch. Okay. They also have some newer products that gel if heat's exposed to them. So you can replace your venting for the 1/8. I'm sorry, the 1/8. Yeah, I'm sorry, I reversed it. 1/8, 1/4 to 1/8. Thank you. I was too busy trying to remember Vulcan was a brand of replacement. It doesn't matter what name it is, but it turns into gel when it's exposed to heat, because that what's happening, they're finding with the larger spacing on the venting is the embers can blow through and have enough structure and heat left to light flammables in the attic space. Okay, so if you store papers, maybe even the backing if you have backing on the insulation that's not like that metallic, if it's paper or something. Again, that's what's happening going through those vents. And that's that fire, just constantly throwing embers at your house. We want to make your house be able to be a structure that can survive on its own. So let's kind of here look at another example. See, they have a nice lawn around there. There's the road on the other side. The fire burnt all the way up to their house pretty much, right? That one little area was almost a failure point. But being that it's stucco tile and they have nothing in that 0 to 5, it didn't create enough heat and enough embers to get up inside the house itself. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking at here. The house next to it, same thing. You can see the cement goes all the way to the house. That 0 to 5 feet is really important. That's the new fire science. That's the new law starting in 2024. If you build a brand new house or you do any significant remodels, you will be required to have a 0 to 5 space. So that's, we can work with it. I'm not saying pull everything out. We can work because there are some plants pretty close to the house that burned and the house did not. So again, just want to talk again, managing the combustible materials. That's the defensible space. And the defensible space is really for the firefighters to come in and stand and defend your home. Okay. The home ignition zone is what's giving your home a temporary refuge against fire. Okay. So again, a little bit of semantics there. It's all the same in the end, right? If it doesn't burn, the house doesn't burn, that's a good thing. But if we put the home ignition zone and we've done some home hardening together, that's our defensible space and increases the chances of survival in a wildfire. All right, so what are some more ways that you can prepare? Okay, so you're getting all excited from leaving here because I've got you viscerally activated and you're going, oh my gosh, what do I do? I'm going to go cut a bunch of vegetation. Or I'm going to have the gardener cut a bunch of vegetation. Boom, it's gone. See ya. Well, if it's actual branch type vegetation, not grasses and things like that, how many people have used the district's chipping program? Okay, so we offer a chipping program. You get a card in the mail twice a year. That's what we used to only do, is you got to do it twice a year. If you have at least 3 of the big green waste bins, the green bins for your landscaping materials, if you have at least the volume of 3 of those, you can ask for anytime pickup. Okay. Now I will have to tell you, a program like this, especially after the storms, is very, very popular, very robust. We have over 130 people every month. So to manage a program like that, the logistics of trying to give everybody service, not just the twice a year, needs to have a little patience built into it. So what you'll do when you register is there's a 2-week window. We have a software program that routes efficiently around the homes that are requesting that month. When you sign up, have your pile in that time frame that you're given. It's usually the 2nd and 3rd weeks or 3rd and 4th weeks of the month. Have it out at the side of the road. I get a lot of people that go, Denise, that's a fire hazard. Well, it's a fire hazard as soon as it's dead in your yard too. I'd rather have the fire hazard be on the side of the road. It's a lot easier to fight that fire than the one that's by your house. So it's okay. Get outside the road. If your neighbors are going to be worried, put a paper on it saying, I'm signed up for chipping on it, hang it on the pile. Okay. So they won't call and say, oh my gosh, people are starting to see that and know what's going on. So again, you can sign up, get online, right on our front page, sign up for chipping, be a little bit patient with it. They will get to your pile. And again, just some pictures showing what the chipping program should look like when it's stacked, right there, chipper going on. And then the other option, if you do a big thing and you want to get it out yourself, 3rd Saturday of the month, there's drop off at the college. You have to show your ID that you're a local resident, but you can take your own stuff down and have that dropped off at the college. All right, so what's another way we can work and learn and get more education? Because remember, we're in that prepare, right? That ready part of the ready, set, go. What's something else we can do? I had some volunteers stand up that are involved with Firewise. Firewise, there's a lot of programs out there that are offered around preparedness and Firewise was the one that ended up getting the most traction overall. So it was nationwide. You can see that those numbers are probably off now because it's been very, very, obviously people are worried. It's been very increasing in popularity. but this is where it came from. These are some of the spots. You can see it almost looks like plants now, but those are actually all independent little dots. Not a lot of resolution on that picture, sorry. If you have questions about Firewise, again, when you had the sign-in sheet, we had Firewise, CERT, and HIZ on that. You can go back and check it. We'll reach out to you. Or you can send an email to that firewiseinfo@lahcfd.org, and that'll come to me and Victoria, and we can answer questions about Firewise or anything. You can hit that for anything. If you can't remember my email, that's a little easier to remember. So we have a couple of these people in the room today that are on that little bottom corner. That's Saddle Mountain. That was our first Firewise in Los Altos Hills. These little arrows are showing Zone Haven and areas that I have active levels of Firewise. I did a Firewise presentation a couple times virtually and in person here in the beginning of the year. I've come out probably since April 23rd. I come and do Firewise meetings a lot with the Neighborhood Watch. So I come out with a sheriff deputy. He'll do something about Neighborhood Watch, and I come and talk about Firewise. I encourage you to get it if you want to get your community started in that program. The program is the National Fire Protection Agency developed. We don't do the work, the residents do the work to prepare. So because of that, the state insurance commissioner said, hey, these residents are doing things, they're being proactive. And as of April of this year, requires a discount if you're participating in a Firewise recognized community. So before it was just peace of mind exclusively, peace of mind that my house can be a temporary refuge for itself and survive a fire. Additionally, now there's a financial incentive available too. If the first reason's not enough, maybe the second one is. So again, we have it on the sign-in sheet, or you can email to that address. Zone Haven, I told you earlier about the next door having 57 areas. I didn't really think we needed 57 Firewise communities because you have to give a regional kindness to it. It can be just your street. Everybody has a geographical relationship. You only need 8 homes to start a Firewise. It can be up to like 2,500. I didn't want one big giant Firewise in Los Altos Hills because the differences in maybe the South District are different than if you live out at the end of Moody and Page Mill, right? Your problems are different. So I wanted to have a geographical relationship. In Zone Haven with the 21, you have about 100 homes, give or take, in each of those Zone Havens. So that's a nice manageable number. So when that was coming out, I go, oh, that's good. Let's use that as our base map. So as of right now, we're using that as the base map on developing Firewise communities in Los Altos Hills. Can I have more than one inside a Zone Haven? Sure. Can it cross over the Zone Haven line? Sure. The nice thing about Zone Haven lines, though, they go around your evacuation roads. So it's something, again, that you have in common. If you're going to be evacuated together, let's get prepared together. And then let's get the community part of this, of knowing your neighbors. And maybe if they need help, I'm going to talk about that some more. But if they need help getting out, when I talk about evacuations, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Again, there's lots of collateral that we have. If you get on our website, we have a Firewise booklet that's virtual. I might even have a couple of them here with me today. I don't know if I think I brought a few. But again, it's kind of just all the information you need to know about how the district supports the residents in Los Altos Hills to become Firewise. Drew? Mm-hmm.
And this year we're working on expanding to address each of the side. The question that came up, and I think that email is something I realized we can do we have to create that in different areas of new zone, or can we just expand what we have?
You're just going to expand what you have. And that's kind of what we're doing. If you only started with the 8 homes, we talked about your neighbor's home burning can you still hear me?
What was the question asked?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I should repeat. Sorry. It was a question about renewal for Firewise. So we're going to sidebar, but for that question, because it's a little more involved than the initiating. But she was asking on renewal for Firewise. Remind me to answer, guys, remind me to repeat the questions for you. I'm sorry. She was just asking about increasing the initial homes that become maybe the 8 that you start with. How do you get the rest of them into the process? Because one of the things you do in Firewise is you make up a 3-year plan. And most people in that 3-year plan have recruitment as one of their goals. So we'll talk about how that actually works, but it's just a matter of them kind of doing their self-assessment, and they'll get melded Yeah, yeah. So you've done the heavy lift with getting recognized. Recognized is the term. You get a nice metal sign. That was, let's go back. I think it's couple of slides. One more. There. They have their nice little metal sign. Michael's holding that next to Martha. You get a couple of those that can be posted along like the neighborhood watch that they have. It is, and it varies. So I have a house up in the mountains. I've been non-renewal 3 times. I couldn't get insurance. So I had to go the fair plan. That's kind of the only option when you can't get insurance anymore for fire. That's a 7% discount if you're a participant in a Firewise neighborhood. It varies insurance company. One of the things as I get more Firewise, I'm going to ask the Firewise communities to ask. I just did this with Katie. She's with Allstate and she said, hey, Denise, they don't offer a Firewise discount. So I got the agent and starting to work through, but I want to make sure the education happens on the insurance company end so that you guys can get those insurance discounts. Like I said, I only know for fair plan right now, it's 7%. It varies. If I do the Firewise presentation for you, I go into a deep dive on all of this. So again, I'm just brushing over a lot of stuff today. So I apologize I don't answer all the questions, but get on our website. There's a lot more information there and links. So, and the question for the audience was about the discounts for insurance. That's what I was answering. Oh, but let me go back one. I'm sorry. Let's go back. All right. So now we're getting into what do I do around wildfires? So this is going to be emergency procedures. And again, in this preparedness step, let me run over. No 2 ways out. Okay, that's what we're kind of talking about now. That's the planning. Okay, already more of your plan. You know, registered for alerts. Now you're 2 ways out. Now, generically, when I teach preparedness classes, I say, I challenge everybody, whenever you go anywhere, learn 2 ways out. When we talk right now, we talk about these are our 2 ways out. We don't have this 2-way because usually we would have had to use both of these, right? Feel like airplane exit doors. Sorry, I laughed at myself for a minute. Okay, so 2 ways out when you go to the grocery store. Okay, 2 ways out of the grocery store. 90% of people will go in the door they enter. They don't even know there's a second door. So let's switch gears. Active shooter. The active shooter comes in that front door and is shooting, and 90% of the people want to get out that way. Not a good scenario. I challenge you to go wherever you go, find that back door, find a secondary egress. Okay. Let's now move this into wildland fire. You go one way. I will guarantee you 90% of the time you will always go that one way unless we're doing, say, an evacuation route hardening. We've made a 1-lane road on your road that week. You're going to go that one way. Can you go a second way in the dark, in the smoke, barely being able to see? What if that best way is to go not to 280, but go up to 35 and take 35 to 84 to get out? Okay. So I challenge you, think of some various ways to get out of your house that you can do in the dark without navigation in the dark. Okay. Because when it's smoky, I'm going to show you a video. This one we won't have to hear, but he's heavy breathing in it and he's stressed out. He's leaving Santa Rosa fire. Okay. Let me show you what we've got. Okay. Where's the play on this? Oh, it's not connected to the YouTube. Okay, let me do that at the end too. But you can see, maybe it is. I'm not getting that little icon on here because I don't think my computer connected in. Okay, I'll play it at the end for you. But you can see he's driving down the road. See the embers in his headlights? See all the vegetation, both sides of the road is on fire. That's a lot of heat coming off right now. He's feeling that heat in his car. I can guarantee you, he's feeling that heat. And as I'll play it at the end, you hear him heavy breathing and he's just trying to get out and things are falling down in front of him. I play another video from the tunnel fire from Oakland Hills way long ago. Same thing. You know, it's a lot of people just, trying to get out and freaking out. So I'll play that at the end for you so you can see. But I just want to kind of give you the idea of what it's going to look like if you're trying to leave a fire. Oh, there we go. This is Santa Rosa back in like 2017. He's getting a lot of heat. The other thing that happened in this fire too, see all those embers? police officers, this was in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning. They were going around to evacuate the neighborhoods in Forest Hills. They left their car windows down or their doors open in their cars. They lost about 5 police cars to the embers going inside the car and catching the car on fire, finding the plastic and things like that. So again, if you are in the situation, you've got your vents closed, recirculate if you need recirculation, but don't have your vents open. And again, dark. I mean, it's nighttime anyhow, but it's literally that dark in the daytime. I can tell you from wildland fires I've been on, it's that dark sometimes in the daytime because there's so much smoke blocking out the sun. Okay. All right, so there's a lot of information on this. I actually got this from the San Francisco Chronicle, put out an article, Wildfire Survival. I can give you links to those guides. Again, email me. I'll have my email at the end, or email that Firewise and I can get you things. But I just took a screenshot just to kind of show you there's a lot of things you can do ahead of time as a prepare. Some of the key things I wanted to talk about, those evacuations, right? You get that, you signed up for the early alerts, you're going to use your zone haven, you know your zone 30 if you live right here. So you get this evacuation alert, and we actually got some of these at the end of Page Mill during the CZU fire, the lightning strike fire. They actually got some alerts, and that's telling you that there's a fire in the proximate area, somewhere in the proximate area that could be a threat. So you should start beginning preparations. Well, you should have started way long ago before you got that alert, but you should start those right now preparations. If you're someone with access and functional needs, mobility issues, or can't drive at night, this might be a good time to practice your evacuation plan and just try it out. You know, go spend the night in town, your friend's house, something like that. Might be a good time to just exercise that. Now, if you get an actual evacuation warning, this is usually what you'll start getting from the alert SCC. This is meaning that you should make urgent preparations with your things. That means backing your car up, taking it out of the garage, because the garage door, what happens frequently of wildfires is the power goes out, right? And if you can't open your garage door, even if you're not able to pull the release or it doesn't have the backup and you can't get your car out. So this is a time you want to get your car out, or maybe they do a public safety power shut off to preempt this and the fire happens. Again, we want to get those cars out of the garage. This is a time that you should be having your car, if it's a gasoline or diesel vehicle, a half a tank of fuel or more, so that you can be sitting in a long line for a while, or you can travel a far distance to get away from the bad stuff. If you have an electrical vehicle, you should be keeping it charged all time. Again, I already kind of said people with mobility issues maybe should leave it the alert, but sometimes the alert doesn't come out. Sometimes this warning is the only thing that you get. You don't get the benefit of an alert. It's not necessarily scaled. It's how bad is it? How bad is the warning? How bad is the threat? So hopefully you'll at least get a warning, okay? This is when you should definitely move large animals. People with access and functional needs, mobility issues, absolutely out of warning. This is when you should be going, absolutely. So pack up all those things. Again, there's there are lots of lists out there of all the things you should get, but we're going to talk about the immediate stuff in a little bit about go bags and whatnot. When you get an evacuation order, this means you're in grave situation. This fire is definitely coming to your area, okay? The perimeter will be sealed off by law enforcement. That's why they're too busy to help you, okay? You can't get back in once you leave. So I tell people it's very sobering, but pack as if you're never going to go home. That's why you want to start early, okay? And again, you'll be getting these alerts through Alert SCC. You'll get some zone haven information too. Be situationally aware, like the guy in the car, you know, close your vents, things like that in your car. And if you're ever concerned, leave early. Don't wait. That's what happened in Paradise. They didn't get their notifications because the problem is with fast moving fires. So we get down to evacuation orders. Those are oftentimes fast moving fires with little or no notification. That gentleman in his car in Santa Rosa, fast moving fire with little notification. Butte, Paradise, football field a second. You can hardly outdrive a football field a second. They didn't know the scope of the problem. So that's why the alerts didn't go out. They didn't know what was going on because it was happening so fast. If you're seeing smoke, smelling smoke, seeing fire, leave. Don't wait. Okay, those alerts are there, but don't wait. If you're concerned, leave. At minimum, leave with your go bag and get your family, your pets, and get out. Okay, so that's just my message on evacuations. Serious business. So making a plan. So that's kind of where we're at again today. Here's some of they call it 6 Ps is one of the old ideas around planning. People and pets, we talked about that right now. Special papers. Lots of different ways you can do special papers. You can have copies of documents. You can have them in a safe deposit box somewhere. You can have them on a safe, secure cloud situation. You can have it on a drive that you carry with you. Prescription drugs, ideally you have a week's worth. I know with prescriptions, it's hard to get extras sometimes, but tell your doctor what you're doing and they might write you an extra month prescription. So you can rotate that through. Take a Sharpie, anything you put in a bag, take a Sharpie and write the expiration date on it. So you can easily look at it. You don't have to look at that small print and get your glasses out every time. Write it in a Sharpie so you know to rotate that through. When you get a new prescription, maybe rotate your old one. Same with your water storage, write on Sharpies. All this storage stuff I'm going to tell you, write expiration dates or when you put it in the box, the date you put it in the box. So you know when to get rid of it if it needs to be rotated and used. Again, pictures and irreplaceable memorabilia, that's that stuff that you have at least a list of what to grab, right? You at least have a list that you have posted somewhere and you just grab that list, grab those things. Because I will tell you, when this happens, minds tend to vapor lock. We go to thinking using our kind of reptilian brain. We don't use our prefrontal cortex where we make decisions. We just start reacting, and you feel like you'll start dropping things. You'll start, and everything's going to just kind of start to get, more and more tunneled. So that's why you want to have either things ready to go or on a list to do. Again, your laptop, hard drive, it could have your information on it. And then plastic and cash. Wildfires aren't so much a problem. Earthquakes, they talk more about having cash. But again, make sure you have that with you. And then, again, paying attention to, do you have your chargers, like for your phone, for your computer, things like that. Those things that go along with some of this. Okay, your family might not be together when the disaster strikes. So what have you done to find a location, either to meet locally, or if you have a phone, like people live out of the area, what we recommend is on your phone is use an out-of-state contact, because there still is an actual like long distance amount of media data available versus local data. Have that out of area contact and let them know that they're going to be the point of contact in case of an emergency in California, because you may be able to get a message to them sooner than you could using a local contact. And also they're far enough away from the emergency that they're not impacted by it. So have all the family members or whoever call that person and they give the updates. You can also change your message on your cell phone to say, I'm okay, this is where I'm at, because people will be worried, and that's tying up more phone if they're trying to reach you. How will you get together if you're separated? Again, when we teach kids and 5-year-olds, meet at the mailbox if we have a fire in the house, crawl low under smoke, get outside, we two ways out, all of that. And again, those critical documents and valuables, where and how, and do you have room for all of those? So I talked earlier about learning about neighbors too that need assistance.
Denise, I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes.
Is there a list for what you should put in your go bag somewhere?
Yeah, I'm going to get to go bags in just a minute. The question
perfect.
was,
Thank
is
you.
there a list for go bags? So that's coming down here a little bit down the pike. Thanks, Rajiv. Okay, so again, this is I have one of these I have a few of these in the back. If you need some documents that I don't have, I can definitely get them to you, but you can go online also. Santa Clara County Fire has this document online under their preparedness information. So again, out of area contact, the meeting places, all of that type of stuff. Again, on that neighbor too, do you have a next door neighbor that in the event of an evacuation order, which is mandatory, nobody's going to be able to come in and get them except the police, and the police are very busy. Can you be part of the answer to that question? So that's also where the FireWise comes in, where we're really getting community members to get to know what's going on in their community. Okay, and our four-legged family member friends, just like people, they need things too. Recommendations, microchip your pet. Even if your pet is always inside, never goes outside unless it's on a leash or a cat or whatever. What happens sometimes in earthquakes, windows break, things like that, the animal might get out. So always have your pet microchip. Also keep a photo of yourself, because if you get separated, I'm not going to give this really nice dog back to somebody that just says it's their dog. You want to show a picture of you and your pet for the reuniting part. Okay. There's other things, have all those things ready. Let your animal, have your animal eat in the crate sometimes. If they don't like to get in it, have them get used to it. Cats, one of the really good ways, especially they know that there's emergencies going on when they happen and they do this. I'm not going in anything. A pillowcase over the kitty and then in the crate. That's a very good way to get around the kitty problem. I have a preparedness flyer in the back on the table with the flyers. Gives you lots of information. Treat them just, they need food, if they have medications, just like your go stuff that we're going to talk about. Home inventory checklist. This is kind of more of an after the fact. If you did have a fire, like you packed, like you're not coming back and the bad thing did happen, your home did burn. A lot of people will be getting insurance all at the same time. The person who has their documentation the best and most readily available is the person who gets their insurance money fastest because they're overwhelmed. That's a part. So, and it's stressful for you. So having as much documentation, again, lots of ways. This is an inventory sheet that's online. I might even have a few back there too. I'm trying to get away from paper. That's why I'm trying to go direct towards online. So I'm trying to get away from doing everything on paper, but having things videotaped, keeping receipts, especially of high-end things, because I can guarantee you that $10,000, whatever you bought, is going to be worth, garage sale prices when you try to get insurance, unless you can prove its value. Okay. All right, getting a kit. Now, this gets a deep dive. This is a whole class in and of itself. So I am going to brush over a little bit and tell you more about the types of kits. I have some samples up here. Wait, we're going to step over to our third set here on this slide, one of the three kits. So if you don't do anything else today, I am going to give you a little kit for attending today, one per household that you can get started with. It's kind of more like a car kit or maybe a go kit. But again, sign up for early alerts, know 2 ways out, know your zone haven, and have a kit. Okay. So let me go a little bit. And again, like I said, this is a whole class in itself. There's tons of YouTube videos on this. There's tons of information out around kits. But basically, there's 3 types of kit. A home kit, which we like to have at least a week worth of stuff. This is kind of more your earthquake one. This isn't the one you're going to throw in your car and take on your evacuation. This is more the earthquake kit. Okay. Remember, in earthquakes, we start with the things that are in the freezer first, then the refrigerator, freezer, and then the pantry before we go to our dehydrated food. Don't go, oh, we just had an earthquake. Let's pull out the dehydrated food. No, let's go through, because we're going to assume the power is going to go out. If it's not already out, we're assuming the power is going to go out. So let's use the perishables in the refrigerator, freezer, pantry, and then the dehydrated food. Oh, let me go back. So the home kit is the one that can be a week, 10 days. It doesn't want to go back. There we go. Your vehicle kit. So that might have a little bit more stuff because it's riding around in your vehicle, right? You might have some more, a little bit of food, a little bit extra clothes, shoes. You always want to have long sleeved of anything. That picture of back in the evacuation, that was clothes you should wear if you're having to evacuate. Because if you have to get out of your car for some reason, what do you want? Short sleeves on or long sleeves? Do you want sandals or do you want closed-toed shoes? Do you want pants? Yeah. So that's why you have that stuff also in your car. So if you're evacuating and your car stalls from too much smoke and you have to get out because it's catching on fire and that's your only option, you want to make sure you're in long sleeved things. Oftentimes we're in summer though, and it's hot. So we're not wearing that when there's a fire. Okay. So those are the types of things you might add to your vehicle kit that you wouldn't necessarily have in your go bag, because your go bag, you have to be able to carry it. That's the key. Okay. So whatever you can carry. And the one thing that's really hard in the carrying part is the water, because they recommend a gallon of water per person per day. 8 pounds is a gallon of water. Okay. So that's a lot of weight, right? So that's probably the weakest link in your go kit. You can have that more in your vehicle kit or your home kit, right? Because you're not necessarily carrying those and taking off with those, but it has to be stuff you carry. And this is, again, those things that you need for at least 24 hours, hopefully 3 days. Hopefully you can get 3 days worth. So medications, chargers for phones, extra set of glasses, long sleeve shirt, closed-toed shoes, extra socks. Okay. All those types of things. Food. This has dehydrated food in it. Okay. There's just some different samples. This gets even this one. Actually, okay. Not only is it pack stuff, but it's a toilet. Okay. For you online people, I just showed them a kit that's a toilet too. You didn't get the benefit of it's called a honey bucket, and it's a 5-gallon bucket that has a lid, and you can stuff all the stuff inside. It has garbage bags, so that's how you use it. As you know, we're not going to get deep dive into that. So you can use your imagination, right? All right. So really quick, I'm going to go over these fairly quick, but here's some of the items that you would do in the go bag. Again, this is the quickest one. Okay. And this is where I would have cash, and I would keep this in the place that you would leave your house from. So do you leave your house to the garage or the front door? I'd have it in the closet. I would have it in the laundry room if you leave through your laundry room. And then with this, I would have a list of the things that I need to grab that are not in this kit. My computer charger. Again, this is all stuff that you need for the first 24 hours, or like you're never going to come back, but you can't pack everything in your car. That's what we're looking at. Okay. The duct tape, rope, and knife, we're not kidnapping people. That's for, emergency things. Everybody goes, why is there a rope and a knife and a duct tape? Yeah, no, that's where this is all risk. So this is fixing. Duct tape fixes everything, right? There's always something you can't cut open, so the knife is good. Scissors will work too. Anyhow, again, online, tons of samples. We're going to jump up one level. So this is stuff that you can pack more than you can just carry. Again, very similar, but you can start putting more clothes in there, more water, more shoes. And again, at the back, I have some lists of things. And this is more the size that, Dave, could you hold up one of the bags? Could you hold up one of the bags? Dave's going to be my Vanna White really quick and just, yeah. So this one is a backpack style, but it also has a drawstring, a lot like the shoe, little places to stick things in. Again, not very big. So it's kind of between a go bag and a car kit, but you could have one of these for each person in the car type of thing. So you could have multiple bags in the car. So anyhow, that you're going to get one of those today when you leave. I have a little bit of stuff inside to get you started. There's a little kit that the water district gave us. There might be even a little first aid kit in there. So yeah, Dave's got the little stuff, rain poncho, some starter stuff for you. So you can leave here today with at least one of the 3 steps, right? Okay. Sorry, you guys online. Sorry. All right, home kit. Again, get online. This is where you can put a ton of stuff. You can get camping gear. I mean, this can get to your imagination. Yes, question. Where is the fire extinguisher? In respect to what? Oh, in your kits? Well, in your car, you should have an extinguisher. They have the picture of it there. That's only in your home kit. Yeah, your car and your home kit would only have an extinguisher as part of that, that list. But yeah, great thing to have. And again, in preparedness, we just did a CERT Academy, and we just let the teen certs learn how to use extinguishers, pulling the pin, aiming, squeezing, spraying, sweeping. Yeah. So anyhow, that's PASS. That's another acronym. And this is all the stuff. And again, where do you keep this? If you keep it in the garage, I recommend by the door, because the framing around the door, if you can't, like say the door gets a little bit skewed where you can't get it open in an earthquake, if it's close to the door, you can probably break through the door enough to get it out, and you don't have to dig through all the stuff that fell on top of it when it's on the other side of the room. So I recommend keeping it right by the door, or an outside shed. My problem is outside sheds, they get hot and they sometimes get little furry creatures that break into them, and furry creatures love to chew through plastic. Again, this could be a whole class on how to do just kits and go bags and vehicle kits. Okay, so now I'm just going to cover a little bit of generic earthquakes and things like that. I'm going to go through this really quick because this is about wildfire, and I've already given you a lot of wildfire information. But this is what happens, and that's what we talked about, the police and fire. This is more of an earthquake picture here, obviously. But the public safety is going to be busy on any type of emergency, too busy to go out on your regular 911 calls. They're going to be going around surveying the area, see what resources they need, and moving on. Okay, so that's where the resiliency needs to come in. That's where our preparedness needs to come in. We need to be our own 911, our own person taking care of ourselves, resiliency. So that's why we talked about having food, being prepared, doing the work around your home. So earthquakes, really quick. We obviously have a big fault going through the center of California. It's called the San Andreas. There's lots of little faults off to the side, and we had a big quake in 1989. We saw damage like that. That home is obviously not inhabitable. As I talked earlier, what do you do in earthquakes? Drop, cover, and hold on. So ideally, you have a nice strong table. We're all not going to fit under this table. I'm going here first because I don't have a chair to sit in, but y'all can join me as many of us can fit. But we're looking at things falling on our head. Really, the only risk is maybe the slide projector. Everything else is built really well. These glasses, I'm sure, are tempered, so they're going to fall in little pieces that won't hurt us and cut us. Again, cover and hold. You're holding on because if this table had wheels on it, it's on hardwood, it might travel along with the earthquake. We want to, if we're standing up, we want to sit down on the ground. Again, take the emergency airplane crash position against a wall. Same thing. Protect your head. Protect this kill zone of your body, your head and your core. So again, this is about wildfires today, but I would be amiss if I didn't talk a little bit of the other risks. We had this year, right? This was really relevant this year. Again, things to do if you're in that's the one nice thing that you have in the hills. You don't have as much flood risk, right? Because you're in the hills. That's what the urban has. You do have a landslide. We'll talk about mudslide, but again, never walk because you don't know what's happened. And the water, even though it looks nice and calm, it could be moving really fast. And there could be like manholes that have come up and you might step down a hole. So stay out of floodwaters, you know, even with your vehicle. Valley.org, again, more information. Again, current event driven. We're in the middle of summer, so people don't worry about floods as much. But if you needed to, you want to be ready. You have your go bag, right? You have it in your vehicle or you have it in your house. You want to stay informed. We already talked a lot about how to stay informed, right? Those trusted media sources. This is a great time because again, if you should I drink my water or not? You know, you need to know if there's a boil order, things like that. So those trusted sources. And the last thing that I have today, I didn't do mudslides. Sorry, the side risk of flooding is mudslides. We do have that risk in Los Altos Hills. Same thing, no two ways out. Say you go visit people and you're not familiar with their area and it's raining and there's a lot of hillside. Do you know the second way? Because you don't live there, right? You don't travel there normally. Again, and I encourage and challenge you to know two ways out wherever you go. When you go out of town, know two ways out. When you're in the hotel, not just the elevator, where did the stairs dump you out? Because if it's in the smoke in the dark, where are you going to end up if you leave out of your two ways? So mudslides are the same thing because that mudslide might block your primary route of egress or leaving, and you might have access issues, right? So this is a general medical component. I wanted to just throw this in because being in the fire service, 70% of our calls are medical. That's why we ask you in that HIZ, that home ignition zone inspection, to just put at least 4-inch reflective numbers for your address. Because if you're having a medical emergency and it takes a few more minutes to find your house and you're doing CPR, it's a big deal to you. To me, when I was on the fire engine, it's frustrating, but it's not as big a deal as if you're doing CPR on your loved one. So please make it easy, especially in Los Altos Hills, reflective numbers or solar lit numbers or some kind of lit numbers at night, because it's hard to see in Los Altos Hills, especially some of the roads are like they have to have signs to point, you know, which way you go. Hard to do. So again, and this is actually when I got to the call and you're stressed at what's going on, having all that medical information already ready. I have vinyl pouches back there. They've got little magnetic strips on them that that doesn't stick to the front. It usually sticks to the side or of the refrigerator. You can put it in a plastic bag with some blue tape, but that has a current, you can get online and fill the form in, or there's a form in that you can fill out with all the current medical information. And that really helps when you're trying to be with your loved one and comfort them. And the captain on the engine's going, well, what's their medical history? Well, what's this? What medication? And you're trying to get all that together. Planning. Okay. This is planning again. Have that ready to go for people that are medically fragile. If you get to the point where you have a DNR, things like that, that's a great place to keep those also. Again, the refrigerator is the preferred location. We used to have life files or vials of life, and that was in the refrigerator. So that's why the refrigerator is still that place that we usually like it. And then the last things I'm going to do is just talk really quickly about some projects that the fire district's doing. Got to give ourselves a little plug. So evacuation route hardening. We've done, that's where it tells you right there, it's to remove hazardous vegetation that could fall or block the roadway in the event of a wildfire or would make the roadway extremely hot, like we saw that guy in Santa Rosa. and unsafe to travel. So we're trying to improve that. The broader goal is to enhance the fire resiliency of the roadway, improve the evacuation route by reducing the ladder fuels. We talked about ladder fuels are things that start low and build up. So when we do vegetation management around our home, it's not just the spaces, but it's what's at the bottom. If you have grasses that burn into bushes that go into trees, that's a ladder. And each step, the fire increases in its intensity. Okay, so we want to break those up, space them out, and clear them out. So we're doing that on the evacuation route hardening. And again, if you have that home ignition zone, it goes into a lot of that vegetation management descriptions. And it reduces the competition in the ecosystem itself for light and water and more vigorous growth. And we have a community page on our website. Classes you can take. I talked about CERT, that's Community Emergency Response Team. You can go online with Santa Clara County Fire. That's the new schedule for the fall. One of the very unique things we have that our Victoria Beebe, our CERT coordinator, has started in the last couple of years since COVID is Teen CERT. So if you know any teens in the area that go to high school, it's all of Santa Clara County now that can participate, but it started here in Los Altos Hills. So there's some cards back there about that. If you have some concerns about hazardous weed abatement, again, here's some contact information. Santa Clara County Fire Department. To the right are things that you might have concerns and call them about. The district, if you call us, we're more of an educational arm. We don't have an enforcement component. This is the enforcement end. The town of Los Altos Hills on that Text My Gov, that app I showed you earlier, is another good way to talk about some of the things that concern. You can reach out to us and we'll get you in the right place. If it's more of a county weed abatement issue or a Caltrans issue, I have those down at the bottom, how to contact people about hazardous vegetation, because you can do your thing, but how do you get all the other stuff done? You know, where does that get done? So this is just a little chart that we have available. We'll be having this online, and it talks about the cycle that you get that letter in February. And then we go through, the town has time where you can start disking, and then there's a deadline to have your vegetation management done. We're kind of at that blue yellow. We're in that yellow area right now. So this is when, you know, we want to make sure that vegetation has been done. We want to do that in the blue ideally, but this is when the enforcement end comes in, when that's to go alongside that weed abatement letter we talked about earlier. So this is just trying to kind of break that cycle down, because we always get questions about that. And then that's it. There's my email and my phone number, and I can try to play that video again too, but let me just quickly ask for any questions, because we are at the 11:30 hour and I want to respect that. Really quick, if you need to leave, if you can quietly go to the back, get your go bag, and then if you want to sign up for any of the HIZs or Firewise interest or CERT interest, you can quietly go ahead and do that. We have people in the back to staff that. If you'd like to stay and listen to question and answers or have them, please stay. Virtual, hold on. I'm going to get the people, and let me plug in my computer, and I'm going to get the people that are here in person first, and then we'll work on getting some of the other, and just got low battery, so almost made. Okay, first question. Who had a question? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, so decks are another big one. The first biggest key thing that you can do.
Could you repeat the question, please?
And clean the top of that desk. Yeah. Keep all the leaves and debris off. And then underneath, don't store wood under there. Don't store anything flammable. Make sure the grasses that's a good place to have gravel. You know, instead of mulch, don't use mulch under there. Have gravel, have it dirt, have it bare, and then have the edges clean. That 0 to 5 feet, that counts for wooden structures all right around the house. So have that area clean, hardscape, gravel. Yeah, you can see.
Hey, excuse me, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. If you have not checked in with me before you leave, if you wouldn't mind doing so that I can check you off on our list, just so that you keep tabs.
Yeah, if you came late and didn't check in with Harmon, okay?
Denise?
Deal with it. If you're gonna replace anything, get the latest.
Hello.
Whether
Denise.
research the latest in fire resistant. I know you guys can't hear, sorry. So they were asking
Denise,
about,
if you don't repeat the question, we have no idea
yeah,
what's
I'm
going
sorry.
on.
Yeah. So the first question was decks, and it was cleaning underneath decks, keeping decks cleared, as if they're the 0 to 5 feet. And the other question, or a comment was around if you replace a deck, use a Class A rated material to replace the deck. Yeah, next question. Sure. Email me or the Firewise info and I'll send you a PDF of it. No problem. The hyperlinks may not be in it. I'll try to get the hyperlinks in. I don't know if they'll work or not. So
What was the question? Sorry.
I'm sorry. The question was, can you get a copy of the presentation? And I can send a PDF. Just send me either an email or the Firewise an email, and I'll give you a copy of the presentation. Okay.
Okay, good.
Hi, this is in regards to the earlier question
Hold
from
on.
the audience on cleaning the deck.
Okay, hold on. Just
What was the
online.
answer?
Hold on just a second. Well, let me just get this question, then I'll come back to you. Just 1 second online.
We address open space proximity by shipping in place, so the underground cleared and without the hauling it away.
Let's side talk on that. That's a bigger issue than all. We have a lot of stuff going on around that. So I'll probably have you reach out to Ryan Cronin. The question was about open space and shipping in place rather than hauling away the debris. So that's something that would be a more of a regional answer for the online people. Okay, in person. So okay. So yeah, for online, the question is around a reliable fire map. Cal Fires says it takes a lot of media space. That's the same map we use. There isn't another option. That's the only one and it's being updated right now too. The severity zones may change in Los Altos Hills. So what was the online question that you didn't hear the answer to? I'll pick that up really quick.
I'd asked a question. I mean, the audience had asked a question, I believe, about the cleaning the deck or the space underneath the deck, and don't know what was the answer to that.
Oh yeah, the deck is to have it cleaned underneath. Don't store any wood, any flammable materials. Have the 0 to 5 feet around the base of the deck clear. Good place to do hardscaping or gravel. And then keeping the deck clean itself, keeping debris off the deck itself, just like the roof. We want to keep the deck free of debris. Okay. Any other questions here in the audience? Yeah. CERT. Yeah, we just did that with the CERT. You actually use an extinguisher. And if you get online, again, if you want to email, just check the box on the sign in for CERT and we'll reach back out to you. You can ask the question. So the question was learning how to do extinguishers, how to operate extinguishers if there's a class. And that's one of the topics that's covered in the CERT class is how to use an extinguisher, where you actually physically get to use an extinguisher. Any other audience questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Wait, let me do in-person audience. They're just getting ready to leave and then I'll get on jump the virtual ones. Just one more second virtual, hold on. The water and the weeds. Yeah. So that's so the question is around, they have mulch in the 0 to 5 feet right around the house to retain water and weed control. And that was a really common practice and suggestion. This is new fire science, less than 5 years old, that is saying that's where they're seeing a lot of fires because people are doing exactly that. The embers are landing in that 0 to 5 feet in that mulch, making a smoldering fire that's fed by wind that burns up the side of the house and eventually gets into the roof and the attic. So yeah, as you can, I would replace it with either hardscaping, gravel, crushed granite, anything non-combustible. Yeah, I know. And you can put down that weed cloth underneath to help with the weeds. So like they have the barriers and then, yeah, they do. Yeah. But at least the weeds are a little easier to pull out too, to keep it in. Yeah. Any other questions in person? Yeah. Yeah, so I'm not going to go, that's a preparedness thing and that was in that guide. So, but that's why I addressed removing plants from in front of windows so you don't have as much heat. The heat, if at the 30 feet, will not go through the windows at the 30 feet. It will in the 30 feet inside if it's on fire. So that's why that 0 to 5 is so important. That's why they're showing that, because that's one of the things. So the question is around not having windows. The other thing that having the radiant heat break a window The other thing that's required now is tempered glass. So it withstands the multiple panes, and the tempered glass withstand the heat longer than the single pane windows. So you don't find that problem happening as often also with the glass breaking from radiant heat. But definitely if you have radiant heat coming from a plant right next to the window, that's one of those key areas that they recommend clearing out. So yeah, good question. Thanks. Okay, yes. I have it just, if you mark on your list, we'll contact you or go right online and it'll have it right online on the lahcfd.org. The question is around how do they sign up for an HIZ, and you can go right on our website. And for the in-person people, you can check on your box and we'll reach back out to you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Virtual questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you recommend a pool pump or roof sprinklers that the firefighters can use?
So generally no, unless the system has a large water and like 50,000 plus gallons of water source, which is not most pools. 50 to 100,000 gallons are needed to support those systems, because they do not want you using leaving sprinklers or anything on the public water system, because it takes water that's needed for firefighting activities. So in general, if you can have a self-sustaining automated system that you don't have to, be there to turn on and run, that can happen while you're not there, with a large volume of stored water, that would be where you would be able to utilize that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions online?
No.
And
Yeah,
again,
some of
everybody,
the
thank you for your patience on trying to do the hybrid thing. Next time we'll have someone drive it, so it won't be so much for me to do.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
It's
any other online questions?
Well, I have your email in case I think.
Okay,
of any.
yeah, email me if you have more questions. If you want to get involved, get an HIZ, CERT, or Firewise, reach out to me online. In person, they can check a box on the sign-in, but reach out to me online. I'll send you the PowerPoint PDF if you're interested. And thank you for everybody attending virtually and in person. Have a wonderful day.